My name is Akay. I've always wanted to share my story here, but nothing truly scary ever happened to me until a few days ago. It was during my university break. I'd come home to rest for a week. The first 4 days were fine, but on the 5th day, I heard whispering. It wasn't a hallucination. 'Twas clear, real, right there. But I ignored it, told myself it was just the horror movie I'd watched earlier. Then came the 6th day. I have a little routine. I usually sleep in the large bedroom I share with my aunt, mom, and grandma. Then, at 6:30 a.m., I move into my grandpa's room. He was always awake by then, out on the terrace getting fresh air. Hey, and his room is much cooler, easier to sleep in. But this time, I woke up at 3 a.m. I was half asleep, eyes closed, pillow and bed sheet in my arms. I didn't think twice. I knew the house well enough to walk with my eyes shut. I opened the door to my grandpa's room, and when I opened my eyes, my heart stopped. Grandpa was sitting upright on the bed, just staring at me. Cold, empty eyes. I froze. Then I snapped out of it, realizing it was still the middle of the night. I forced a smile. "Ha, I'm sorry, Grandpa." He just grinned at me. I shut the door quickly and turned to run back. That's when I heard it, his laugh. I stopped in my tracks. The sound was so strange, so wrong. I opened the door just a crack, and he was already there, looking straight at me through the gap, still laughing. Fear washed over me. I ran back to Grandma's room, but when I opened the door, my aunt, my mother, my grandmother were sitting there, all three staring at me. Then my mother started laughing, and my grandmother joined, and then my aunt. The sound was deafening, wrong, twisted. I stood frozen as they laughed harder and harder until, suddenly, without realizing it, I started laughing too. It hurt. My side ached. I couldn't breathe. I fell to my knees, clutching my stomach, gasping for air, still laughing. The laughter wouldn't stop. And then everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was in the hospital. My family gathered around me. My mother burst into tears the moment she saw me awake. She kissed my forehead over and over, whispering that the prayers had worked. I asked her what had happened. She told me that morning I stood up out of bed. My body arched backwards, my hands clawed through the air. I was on my tiptoes, my mouth wide open and tears pouring down my face. And then I collapsed. As the doctor called my mother away, my grandmother and aunt followed her. And suddenly, it was just me and my grandpa. He leaned down, gave me the warmest smile he'd ever given me, and whispered, "Did you laugh your heart out, little darling?" My grandma is the kindest person I know, and I wanted to share a few stories she told me. We're from England. She used to be a nurse, so, of course, she's seen quite a few dead bodies. She once mentioned how awful some of the victims of gang violence were in London. Car crashes, though, she said they were sometimes even worse. She was a very tough woman. There was always one strange thing about her house. She said her dog refused to go upstairs because of one particular room. That room always felt cold. We found out why from a neighbor who casually mentioned that a woman had died in that very room years ago. My grandma always had weird things happening around her. One night, my grandma was working late at the hospital with a few doctors. She was alone in one of the wings when she heard the sound of a cane tapping slowly down the hallway. She didn't think much of it at first. There had been an elderly woman staying there for a long time who always banged her cane when she walked. But then she remembered something. That woman had passed away earlier that week. Still, the sound continued. Tap, tap, tap. She turned the hallway lights on. Nothing. No one was there. At first, she told herself it must have been the pipes or maybe the old building settling. But the same sound came back the next few nights, always at the same time. Always the same steady tapping. Eventually, she came to believe that the woman's spirit was still walking the halls of the hospital. But here's the story that I could never get over. The day my mom was born, my Nana brought her to the hospital to show her coworkers the baby. When she arrived, one of the doctors waved her over and offered his parking spot right next to the entrance. She was grateful. It saved her a walk with a newborn in her arms. She parked and went inside. Just moments later, she heard a loud, sickening thud from outside, followed by screaming. She ran out, and what she saw chilled her. A man had fallen from one of the hospital's upper floor windows. He landed directly on the car parked where she usually would have parked. It was the car of the doctor who gave her his spot. If she had parked in her usual place, in her tiny Mini Cooper, the damage would have been horrific, fatal. If my mom had been in the back seat, she likely wouldn't have survived. Later, she asked what had happened. The man who jumped hadn't shown any signs of distress. He had coffee that morning, chatted with nurses, and seemed completely normal. Then, without warning, he ran toward a window, shattered the glass. My Nana still talks about how lucky she was that day. Hi, my name is Nateen, and I live in India. This happened to me in the summer of 2013. It was the month of June during school holidays. I was staying at my grandmother's house in the village. The house had 3 floors. I was there with my parents and both of my brothers. My dad comes from a large family. He has 6 sisters. There was one room on the ground floor we called the storage room. It was usually kept locked. Inside were large soil-lined tankers used to store rice. One night, I woke up and decided to go downstairs from the 2nd floor. From the hallway, I noticed that the storage room door was wide open. A dim light was glowing from inside. Curious, I walked in. That's when the strong smell of kerosene hit me. It was overwhelming. I started to feel faded immediately. And then, as I looked up, I saw it. A burning figure, human-shaped, crawling toward me. It looked like it was burning, like it was on fire, but not screaming, just dragging itself across the ground, flames flickering off its body. I froze for a second. Then I screamed and bolted upstairs. Right at that moment, I heard something crash behind me. It made a loud noise, and suddenly everything went black. Then the electricity came back on. I turned back to look again. The storage room was just as it had always been. No fire, no smoke, nothing out of place. I told no one. I tried to forget what happened. I did for a long time until March of 2023 when my mother told me something strange. She said that back in March of 2013, 10 years ago, one of my dad's younger sisters had died in that very room. It was late at night and the electricity had gone out. She was sweeping the floor by the light of a small oil lamp and something knocked the lamp over. It shattered and kerosene splashed across her. She caught fire instantly. She screamed and struggled until she passed out, still burning. By the time she got to the hospital, it was too late. That's when everything clicked. The smell, the fire, the shape crawling toward me. Had I seen her spirit that night? Why did I see her? Why me? What was she trying to tell me? Even now, I don't have answers. Just the memory of that moment and the feeling that something or someone was trying to reach out from the past. Hi, my name is Trey. I'm a 17-year-old black male from St. Louis, but this story happened 3 years ago when I was 14 with my older brother. Let's call him Jason. So, my brother and I decided to leave home at 2:00 a.m. to explore an abandoned school in our neighborhood. Yeah, I know. 2 kids sneaking out at that hour sounds reckless, but that's exactly what we did. We walked through the empty streets, phones in hand, and my brother, who was 20 at the time, carried his Glock 19X just in case. Once we got to the school, we explored the crumbling hallways for a while before sitting down to eat some snacks and talk about life and women. But then, in the middle of our conversation, the air shifted. A tall, middle-aged man suddenly appeared around the corner with a grin that froze me in place. A quick note: the school sat right beside a dense forest home to coyotes and deer. And the corner he came from, It led directly out of those woods. He was about 6'4", mid-30s, shaven head, dressed in a black jumpsuit. His steps were uneven, dragging his left foot across the ground, and even from a distance, I could smell the alcohol on him. My brother's hand slipped into his bag, ready for anything. I was just 14, but I wasn't small. I'd been boxing for 6 years. My brother stood tall at 6'3". Still, none of that mattered when I saw the man's eyes. He looked empty, terrifying. He staggered towards us, lifting the bottle in his hand. "Want a drink?" he slurred. Every instinct in my body screamed at me. My stomach knotted, my skin crawled, and my brother grabbed my shoulder like he felt the same thing. The man muttered something we couldn't hear. When we asked him to repeat it, he smiled and said, "I wonder what your blood would look like on the grass." That was when he started describing in disturbing detail how he could kill someone and feed their body to the animals in the forest site. Then, without warning, he shouted, "Come here, you punks." As he moved toward us, instinct took over. I stepped back, planted my feet, and drove my fist straight into his nose. Blood sprayed, and the man staggered. My brother drew his gun, leveled it at the man's face, and said through clenched teeth, "Don't move a finger." The man laughed, blood dripping down his face. "I'm going to kill you and your brother." Before he could finish, I snapped. I started punching him over and over, yelling, "Get away from us." And then, flashing lights, the police. A neighbor had heard the shouting and called them. They pulled me off the man. My brother and I told them everything. The officers arrested him, and we walked home in silence. The moment we stepped through the door, the weight of it all hit me. My chest tightened, and I broke down sobbing uncontrollably. I'm 17 now, and my brother is 23. To this day, I wonder what would have happened if I had taken that drink from the man.